Are you ready to take your business to the next level? Every day there are countless books and articles that are published offering the key on how to make your business a success. It's easy to feel overwhelmed trying to keep up and run your business. That's why Deb Creer created the Business Power Hour. Keep up on the latest trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. Let the Business Power Hour do the heavy work for you.
Good morning. Good morning. I am Deb Creer, and I am passionate about giving professionals the tools that they need to make themselves and their businesses as successful as possible. And I say this a lot. I know I say this a lot, but I'm going to be talking to one of my favorite people today. We're going to have such a great discussion. I was so fortunate to be on her podcast about a year ago. I had to look it up because it seemed like it was just yesterday. But yeah, it was November of last year. And we talked about my cancer journey and how that affected me as a businesswoman and things like that. So I'll put that link in the show notes just in case somebody wants to look at that. But please join me in welcoming the fabulous Sabrina Victoria to our program today. Welcome, Sabrina. How are you?
Thank you. Doing so good. Thank you for having me.
Cool. I love it. I love it. Well, let me tell folks a little bit about you, then we'll jump into this. So Sabrina Victoria is a TEDx speaker, a powerhouse entrepreneur, and founder of Her Nation Global, a bold media platform designed to elevate women in business through high visibility features like podcasts, digital media covers, and transformational events. With more than 20 years in door-to-door sales, and the co-creation of multiple 6- and 7-figure ventures, Sabrina leads with charisma, strategy, and an unapologetic belief in the power of community and connection. So again, my darling, how are you?
Doing so good. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Great. The funny thing, I just realized that both my programs this week that this airs are specifically talking about women and women in power and women leaders. And so this is just so much fun to be discussing this because it needs to be talked about. And so men, don't turn us off. No. You are a big part of this process. Plus you have sisters, daughters, spouses, coworkers that you need to be helping too. So again, Sabrina, welcome. We talked a little bit about the door-to-door sales and I made the ick face. But tell us how it is that you got to where you are today.
Yeah, I mean, my background is door-to-door sales predominantly my whole life. I always joke I was raised as a Jehovah's Witness. So technically I've been going door-to-door since I was 5.
Right.
But then in my career, like in my life, I actually wound up in the door-to-door industry.
Okay.
I did 15 years all the way up to COVID. I was running 6 offices, 4 different states, over 150 sales reps, straight commission. And when COVID came, there was no more door-to-door.
Yeah, no knocking on the doors.
Yeah, they shut down all the doors. And so I ended up in the online space because that's where a lot of people ended up. Yeah.
Right. And you talk to us a little bit more about why you decided that it is your mission and your goal in life to help women become better leaders.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it stems from my own story. So, as I said, I was raised as a Jehovah's Witness. I actually ended up getting pregnant when I was 20 and I wasn't married.
Oh dear.
So I got what's called disfellowshipped, which means they cast you out basically. And I lost everybody. I lost my entire family, friends, church, like everything I had ever known. And I ended up just on my own and struggling financially. During that time, I ended up in a very abusive relationship where I was financially abused, mentally, emotionally, sexually abused. And really started to recognize that the majority of my issues or the lack of power that I felt was around not having choice, right?
Okay.
Not having money. When you don't have money, your choices are very limited. And so I really had to, I guess, reframe a lot of my mindset as far as who has the money. And I was in a relationship at that time where he had all the money. Therefore, I didn't have power. I couldn't make any rules. I didn't have a voice in my situation. That's not all situations, but in my situation. And that really just kind of molded me to a thought process one
Mhm.
day where I was just like, dude, maybe if I have money, I'll have more
Mhm.
power.
Mhm.
And I just kind of leaned into that and I
Mhm.
recognized the more money that I made under the radar, I had
Mhm.
like secret
Mhm.
money making things that I was
Mhm.
doing
Mhm.
online, eBay,
Mhm.
OfferUp, Fiverr. I opened up a secret bank account.
Mhm.
And as my money grew to $6,000,
Mhm. Mhm.
$10,000, $20,000, $30,000,
Wow.
I got more, I felt more powerful.
Right. Mhm.
Right. He didn't have
Mhm.
as much of a hold on me
Mhm.
when I had options.
Mhm.
And that's what I feel like is very important. That's what I
Mhm.
really lean into when it
Mhm.
comes to the community that I run
Mhm.
for women business owners is it's not about having all the power. It's about
Mhm.
having choice.
Right. Yeah.
And
Mhm.
money gives us choices.
Mhm. Mhm. Right. And obviously, growing up in the church, there were a lot of constraints. But it is part of what made you who you are today.
Yeah.
And so I think that's always something that's important for us to recognize. But even if it's not the church, maybe it's other things. I'm at the tail end of baby boomer. And it was funny. I was telling this to somebody the other day, and I said, you know, I had kind of reached the point where people went, okay, women go to college. They're not just going to get their MRS degree, although it was still kind of that was what we were doing. But we were still expected by community, our family, even ourselves, that we would go and we'd work for a little bit, then we'd get married and we'd have kids, and then nobody told us what we were supposed to do after that. And I think it really is exactly what you said, choices. And I remember thinking I didn't get married till I was in my 30s. And it was, and so I had a fairly well established career, things like that. But it's tricky. So how do women get past the thought that this is what is expected of us, or we have no choices? Because I think there is that also.
Yeah. How do they get past that, that we don't have choices?
Right.
Oh, so the one thing that I changed, that I
Mm-hmm.
reframed. So I got
Mm-hmm.
heavy into personal development
Mm-hmm.
8 years into that abusive
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
relationship. And the one thing that hit me the hardest was this concept of can't versus how can I. So
Okay.
I
So
had lived,
reframing it to positive.
yeah, so I had lived
Mm-hmm.
my whole life up to that point. Like from the point I got
Mm-hmm.
pregnant all the way through this
Mm-hmm.
abusive relationship, it was always like, I can't.
Mm-hmm.
Like he controls,
Mm-hmm.
therefore I can't. I have
Right.
no money, therefore I
Mm-hmm.
can't. I'm a single mom, therefore I
Mm-hmm.
can't. And it was always, I can't, I can't, I can't.
Right.
And
And that
through
stops you. You just stop. Mm-hmm.
exactly. So
Mm-hmm.
through personal development, learned, okay, you can't. Got it. But
Mm-hmm.
what if you could?
Right. Right.
And when I started to open my mind to the
Mm-hmm.
possibility of,
Mm-hmm.
okay, yes,
Mm-hmm.
but like, what if I could?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Entire world opened up to me. And it's this weird conundrum of, I'm not going to say it was that easy. It wasn't just
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, all of a sudden
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
can do all the things.
Mm-hmm.
There's some serious
Mm-hmm.
mindset work
Mm-hmm.
that has to go into
Mm-hmm.
like, you are almost lazy
Mm-hmm.
because it's like, I can't, I can't, I
Right.
can't.
So you
You don't
just
really
like,
try.
whatever. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're
Mm-hmm.
not using your
Mm-hmm.
brain. You're not like expanding
Mm-hmm.
yourself. And then once you realize, how can I, then
Mm-hmm.
there's like some work
Mm-hmm.
involved.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
Mm-hmm.
almost, there was this weird dynamic of like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I wish I didn't know that because
Mm-hmm.
now that I know that, I have to like do.
Yeah. Now it's my responsibility.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
that gets
Mm-hmm.
really heavy really
Mm-hmm.
fast.
Mm-hmm.
And so it wasn't just like I learned this stuff and then all of a
Mm-hmm.
sudden I'm doing all the things. No,
Yeah. Poof.
there was a
No.
lot
Mm-hmm.
of me
Mm-hmm.
pushing back on myself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
On just, I had gotten so used to just
Mm-hmm.
sitting in this comfort
Mm-hmm.
of this is my life.
Right.
And I had to really kind of force
Mm-hmm.
myself. continuously, because
Mm-hmm.
I would do like
Mm-hmm.
spurts where I'd be like, I'm going to take over the world. And then I'd
Mm-hmm.
be like, yeah, I don't want to.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take over the world. Oh, I can't. I'm
Yeah.
going to, oh, this is
Mm-hmm.
scary.
Mm-hmm.
And so it took a while. It took a few years for
Mm-hmm.
me to finally sit in a
Mm-hmm.
position of power.
Right. Well, and you had that ingrained in you for years. I mean, it's like you said, we don't just flip the switch.
Yeah.
And as you were talking, this reminded me of a meme that floats around, frequently on various social media. And so I just looked it up to see, and so I and now I have even more. And so Erin Hansen, female Erin, wrote this, and she says there is freedom waiting for you on the breezes of the sky, and you ask, "What if I fall? Oh, but my darling, what if you fly?"
Hmm.
And I love that because it's, there is that freedom. And so what do we do? And we will fall.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the thing. But it's like, okay, then another thing that floats around a lot, right? Pull up your big girl panties
Yeah.
and and say, okay, what am I going to learn from that? And how am I going to go forward now? And but that really is hard. I mean, and I don't want to have anybody thinking that if they're struggling, it's, no, it's hard,
It is.
and so give yourself the grace to know it's hard.
It is. And it's also hard because most of us are surrounded by mediocre people.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Most of us are
Mm-hmm.
surrounded by individuals that do
Mm-hmm.
sit in
Mm-hmm.
fear and
Right.
uncertainty
Yeah.
and
Mm-hmm.
mediocrity.
Mm-hmm.
So not only are you fighting your
Mm-hmm.
own fears, but
Mm-hmm.
also usually when you're
Mm-hmm.
just walking into personal
Mm-hmm.
development, the people around you
Mm-hmm.
are still
Mm-hmm.
over here. They're not
Right.
doing personal
Right.
development.
Well, why
So
would
it's
you
also
want to do
like,
that? Right?
yeah,
How many times have we heard that?
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. So we're fighting our own fears and we're
Mm-hmm.
also fighting their
Mm-hmm.
fears
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times, or their
Right.
criticism a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times of like, who do you
Mm-hmm.
think you are?
Mm-hmm.
You
Right.
know,
Yeah.
or even just like a slight eye roll or just the
Mm-hmm.
tone of their voice
Yeah.
and the way they speak. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
It's almost like they're going
yeah,
to pat you on top of the head, right?
yeah. When you start
Yes,
talking big
honey.
dreams,
Mm-hmm.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when you start
Right.
talking big
Mm-hmm.
dreams, they're kind of like,
Mm-hmm.
cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And that,
Yeah.
and you
Mm-hmm.
can hear that. You can
Right.
feel
And
that.
and you and that virtual eye roll. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Right.
exactly.
I was very fortunate. It was funny. I was thinking about this the other day. I was very fortunate that I had a very strong, very independent mother. Now, she was married to my dad until the day he died, and they were just short of their 50th anniversary. But she was the person in charge. I mean, and that was fine with dad. He just, he liked that. But I grew up seeing that independent woman who worked. I was, what do they call it, a latchkey kid before they had latchkey kids. I got home from school and there was nobody there. Now I grew up in a teeny tiny town in the mountains, and so it was, perfectly safe. But I learned from her, I don't need anybody.
Mm,
I can do it on my own. Now the bad part is, and I really was reflecting on this. She's been gone about 18 months, and never once do I remember her saying, "I'm proud of you."
mm,
But at her funeral, people came up to me and said, "Oh my gosh, your mom was so proud of you." And
mm.
oh, thank you so much for saying. But I thought, how much better could it have been if she told me that?
Mm.
Because I kept thinking I was falling short, right? And so that was the whole fail thing, right? Well, I can't even get my own mother to be proud of me. And so, that's something, how, and I know that that's part of your groups and things, is encouraging other women. And so how important is that?
To encourage other women.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's everything. I mean, especially if you're speaking of your mother,
Right.
definitely.
Mm-hmm. My
Yeah, the
dad
women.
was proud. My dad had absolutely no idea what I did, but he thought it was cool.
Yeah, I run a community called, Her Nation Global,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the things that I teach is community,
Mm-hmm.
team,
Mm-hmm.
leverage, being there for each other, teaching each
Mm-hmm.
other, rooting each other on, cheering
Mm-hmm.
each other
Mm-hmm.
on. I talk about community so much because I lost my community. So
Mm-hmm.
when I ended
Mm-hmm.
up pregnant, I lost all my
Mm-hmm.
family, all my
Mm-hmm.
friends, my whole church
Mm-hmm.
just totally turned their backs on
Right.
me.
And it
because
had
that's what
been
they
a
were.
huge part of your life. I mean,
And
not like
yeah,
most of
it's
us who go on Sunday when it's Easter.
no, it's your whole life when
Mhm,
you're a
mhm,
Jehovah's Witness. Yeah, it's your whole life. And so I lost it when I needed it the most. So
mhm,
I think for me, I really
mhm,
understand
mhm,
how important community is.
mhm,
Like doing it
mhm,
on your own
mhm,
is so much harder
mhm,
than
mhm,
doing it with friends,
mhm,
family, people that are
mhm.
there for you, people that are
Right. Mhm,
like-minded.
mhm,
So, whether it's a
mhm,
small group of
mhm,
people
mhm,
or a larger
mhm,
community, having people surrounding you that are for you,
mhm,
doing better,
mhm,
evolving, working on themselves, not,
mhm,
falling
mhm,
into mediocrity.
mhm,
They're constantly trying to evolve.
mhm.
And when I say this doesn't mean like, oh, we're all supposed to be shooting to be billionaires.
Right.
Just like
Eh,
try
mhm,
to do better than you
mhm,
did
mhm,
yesterday.
mhm,
Read a book,
mhm,
work on your health, work
mhm,
on your mindset, work
mhm,
on your communication with your
mhm,
spouse, with your
mhm,
children. It's little tiny itty bitty inches
mhm,
that make a
mhm.
world of a difference
Right.
over a year's
Mhm,
time.
mhm. Right. And it's interesting because I think that's one of the misperceptions that we have is that we have to, I'm not saying don't have the big goals because we need big goals, right? In marketing, we call them BHAGs, big, hairy, audacious goals. But we need all that stuff in between,
Mhm.
to get there. And so it might be, okay, I'm going to be a millionaire by the time I'm X.
Yeah.
Okay, how are you going to get there? It's kind of like you get in your car and you turn your GPS on, and you have to give it a destination, but it's you're going to work with it to figure out how you're going to get there.
Yeah.
I'm going to take that route, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. So now, granted, you just get in and let it take you places, but usually you're making decisions as to what to do. Um and 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 I think that's the thing, and especially when maybe somebody has been in a position like yours where they weren't used to having to make those almost daily choices. I'm going
Yeah.
to do this, or this is where I'm going to be in 6 months. You said, you might think I'm going to have this big goal, but I don't know how to get there, therefore I can't.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of that's just education, right?
Mhm, mhm,
I mean, you have to be educating yourself, reading
mhm,
books, watching YouTube videos,
mhm,
listening to
mhm,
podcasts, going to events,
mhm,
programs, courses
mhm.
to
Right.
educate yourself
Mhm,
in whatever niche,
mhm,
right? Like I know
mhm,
we talk a lot about business here, but
mhm,
health,
mhm.
right?
Right. Right.
Leadership,
Mhm,
stage presence. I mean,
mhm,
there's so many
mhm,
aspects to our
mhm,
lives that need to be worked on.
mhm,
So if you're listening right now and you're like, any
mhm,
area of your
mhm.
life can
Right.
be worked on.
Mhm. Right. Yeah, and I think a lot of times it does start at home, right? But yeah, it's how can you be a better volunteer? How
Mhm.
can you be a better cook? It's funny. We've been in this house in Atlanta for 13 years. And I have this huge, spacious, open concept kitchen, right? And I love cooking in it, partially because it's big and roomy. And so I've been learning more and more. But in my old kitchen in Colorado, it was this tiny little closed in kitchen. And I just didn't like being in there. It was dark. It was, all these things. And, but yeah, I'm having fun learning now how to cook and how to do these things. So I guess my point in this is, yeah, you are never too old to start doing some of this stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
And we do talk ourselves out of it, right? Well, I'm 40, I can't go back to college. Okay, we're seeing on social, in the news, wherever, the 80-year-old who graduated from college,
Mhm.
right? All of these various things. And so it really is, it's I mean, the only thing is, how much are you holding yourself back?
Yeah. Yeah, how much are you holding yourself
Mm-hmm,
back? And then
mm-hmm.
what environment are you
Mm-hmm.
placing yourself
Yes.
in?
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. I don't know who said it, but there's the saying, you are the sum of the five people you spend the most time with.
Yeah.
That's a little trickier now, because we're not always getting out and about. I think with COVID, we kind of got used to, not, but even on social, who are you hanging out with?
Absolutely.
Are they the people who are posting the inspirational memes and sending you attaboys? Or are they the, oh my God, the world is coming to an end type of people?
Yeah. Yeah, I can always tell when individuals are surrounding themselves with not goodness
Mm-hmm,
by the way they talk about their social.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Right,
Yeah,
right.
when somebody's talking about their
Mm-hmm,
social, they're like, "Oh, social sucks. It's so bad.
mm-hmm,
Oh, politics,
mm-hmm.
fighting, and now the food
Right.
stamp thing." When they're all,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, none of that is in my feed.
Right.
None of that is in my
Or
feed.
I see it and I go on, right? I don't comment. I don't, I know what's going on in the world. I know that Saturday is going to be a rough day for people. Um, but yeah,
Is that
I
when it's
mean,
happening on
that's
Saturday?
yeah, the first of the month. Yep. So that's when SNAP benefits end. And so when this goes live, conceivably people will have gone almost a week without SNAP benefits. Um, I care about them, but I don't need to get consumed with it.
Yeah.
Another story about my mother. She really was a big role model, and it's really funny. She and I did not get along, and I realize that's probably because I'm more like her than I want to admit. But she was getting crankier and crankier, and she lived alone. My father had passed, and I mean, people. She lived in Kansas. I lived here. People were contacting me and saying, "We're concerned. She has such a bad attitude. What's going on?" And I mean, I was here. I talked to her once a week on the phone. So I wasn't seeing that, but I could tell, there was something going on her own. She figured it out. So God bless her for doing that. She had Fox News because she was, on all the time. 24 hours a day. She had Fox News on. And I don't care if it's Fox News, CNN, whatever. And she was just continually being inundated with the sky is falling type of news. And when she would come here to my house, I would say it can be on the TV for an hour. Get caught up with what's going on. And then if you want to go into your room and turn the TV on, sure. But out and when I was at her house, I would kind of make faces so she'd turn it off. But it was her house. I mean, if she wanted to have it on, she could have it on. But she figured out that was what was going on. And so she put herself on a news diet. So morning, she would turn on the local news, what's going on here. Noon, it kind of varied, would she watch, an hour's worth of network news or local news? And then there were a couple programs that she listened to in the evenings. Other than that, her TV was on either music, which does so many things, right? Or Hallmark Channel. And so she was watching movies, right? And she said, she could sleep through it. And boy broke up with girl, boy got girl back. They got, happily ever
Yeah,
after.
yeah.
She said it didn't
Oh,
even matter if it was the same movie. You didn't. And the change in her was incredible.
oh,
And she noticed it too. I mean, she said, I feel better.
wow.
And I thought, yeah, that was, and the cool thing was that she did that on her own.
Wow.
But yeah, so it's, what are we exposing ourselves to? And even if it's just music, okay, is it rap music that has kind of icky lyrics? Or is it the uplifting classical sounds? Whatever it is, what are you surrounding yourself with is just as important as who you're surrounding yourself with.
Absolutely. I love that. What a great story.
Yeah, it really was very interesting because, it was like, what's been the change? And she said, Hallmark. I was like, biggest testimonial for Hallmark movies there ever could be, right?
Oh, I love that.
But yeah, I mean, it was, and she still knew what was going on in the world, like we all do, right? But she wasn't fixated on it.
Yeah.
And even if she wasn't listening to it, it was there, and kind of subtly just right. But yeah, I thought that was very interesting. So yeah, folks, take a look. Are you doom scrolling, or are you going on and wishing somebody happy birthday and looking at the cute cat video and then going on to something else?
Yeah.
What is your TV on? And what type of music are you listening to? And more importantly, what are you hearing from your friends and your associates?
Yeah.
And sometimes you kind of get stuck with them. They might be your family, but limit the time you're with them.
Limit the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's the same with
Mm-hmm.
wherever you're at. If you're in corporate, if you're church,
Right. Mm-hmm.
community, there are going to be certain people that are more negative.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to sit there and talk
Right.
to them. You
Hmm.
can say hello
Hmm.
and give a little fist
Hmm.
bump and ask them how the
Hmm.
family is and
Hmm.
then move
Hmm.
on.
Right. Right. So let's talk more about money because I know that's the big bugaboo, right? But it equates to the freedom, maybe is the best way to put it, to be able to do more. And so, and I think especially women, women of a certain age, have more of a thought process on this, about, well, the spouse should be in charge of it. All these things. I mean, like, I remember my mother-in-law, she couldn't even sign on the checking account.
Mm.
Is she now she did she have a secret account? Yes. And now my father-in-law knew he was, but yeah, I mean, that whole generation, that's me and, and older, and so how do you work with women to get them to the fact where money's not a bad thing, and we're not being greedy, we're not being, all those things, but how do you work with women with that?
Yeah, so I work with all business women, so
Mhm,
they're all
mhm,
women entrepreneurs.
mhm, mhm,
And so the biggest hurdle that I see with them isn't not having money,
mhm.
it's asking
Right.
for money.
Mhm,
So
mhm,
they're running a business,
mhm,
obviously. Obviously, they're under the assumption
mhm.
of I would like to make
Right.
money.
Mhm.
But
I at
it's the
least need to
point,
keep the doors open.
yeah,
Mhm,
it's the point
mhm,
of asking
mhm,
for the money
mhm,
is the biggest issue
mhm,
that we're dealing with. So a lot of it is just mindset,
mhm,
realizing that you're not selling something, you're providing a
mhm,
solution for something.
mhm,
This isn't like, oh, this isn't greed,
mhm,
right? This is you have a
mhm,
product or a service
mhm,
and it is worth a value.
mhm,
What is the value of
mhm,
which it is worth?
mhm,
How much money is the client going to be saving? How much time is the
mhm,
client going to be saving? And then, creating
mhm,
a product that is needed,
mhm,
that
mhm.
is valuable
Right.
and convince or being committed to that product and
Mhm,
service and believing that it is
mhm,
transformational.
mhm,
If you've created a product or service that you're not proud of,
mhm,
it's not really that good,
mhm,
you didn't put that much effort into it. I
mhm,
mean, yeah, you're going to really have to convince yourself or convince
mhm.
them.
Right.
Absolutely.
Mhm,
But these women that I work with,
mhm,
they are brilliant. They
mhm,
have created
mhm,
amazing
mhm,
services,
mhm,
amazing products that are worthy of an
mhm,
exchange of value,
mhm,
of monetary value. And so it's getting out of the mindset of
mhm,
it's not about
mhm,
taking their money. It's about giving that person a
mhm,
solution to a
mhm,
problem that they
mhm,
have. And if you have the solution, you know,
mhm.
if you have the
Right.
transformation,
Mhm,
that's worth something to
mhm.
them.
Right.
Yeah.
But do you find that women still think small and undervalue what we're doing?
Absolutely. Yeah, the number one conversation that I have is on me just being baffled
Mhm,
at what they're charging.
mhm,
The
mhm,
first thing I do, because I talk to women all day long, I
mhm,
network with women all day long. I
mhm,
talk to
mhm,
anywhere between 3 to 7 women a day, every day. And I always ask, what's a product or service? Oh,
mhm,
what do you do? What
mhm,
do you sell? Right? Because
mhm,
what do you do is different than what do you sell?
mhm,
And
mhm,
then how much is that? Like, what
mhm,
do you charge for that?
mhm.
And so often I'm literally like, what?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh.
dude, that's what you're charging for
Mhm,
that?
mhm,
8 week coaching two
mhm.
times a week, $1,200.
Right.
I'm like, oh my
And
God.
they're thinking that's a lot, right?
Yeah,
They're like guilty that they're charging that much. Like, I could probably charge 1,000, 750.
yeah. It's insane.
Mm-hmm,
So yeah, so really getting them to
mm-hmm,
understand their value,
mm-hmm,
understand again, what
mm-hmm,
is the money that these people are going to be
mm-hmm,
saving? What is
mm-hmm,
the time that these people are
mm-hmm,
going to be saving? And it's not always like business, right? It's
mm-hmm,
not like, oh, they're starting a
mm-hmm,
business, therefore it could be weight loss.
mm-hmm,
I was just talking about this in a masterclass yesterday or in our sales workshop yesterday, you know, because a lot of times 'cause I teach business, right? So like
mm-hmm,
teaching business equates making sense to be charging
mm-hmm,
money because you're helping that person get more
mm-hmm,
business. But even health, like you
mm-hmm.
help somebody lose 40 pounds.
Right. That's big.
Their confidence is going to go up. their sexiness
Mhm.
and how they are with their
Mhm.
spouse is going to go up.
Mhm.
The way they show up in the office, the way
Mhm.
they show up in their
Mhm.
community, the way that they hold themselves, the way
Mhm.
that they treat their kids and can play
Mhm.
with their kids. Promotions come,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Because you're holding yourself
Right.
differently, you're
Mhm.
speaking differently.
Mhm.
So you're switching jobs,
Mhm.
making more money, getting
Mhm.
promotions
Mhm.
because you look and feel so much better.
Mhm.
So what is the
Mhm.
monetary value around that?
Right.
That's
Mhm.
huge.
Mhm.
What is the time value behind that? That's
Mhm.
huge. They're not
Mhm.
having to sit and watch 17 YouTube videos
Mhm.
on how to freaking get the
Mhm.
killer abs or
Mhm.
whatever it is.
Mhm.
They're working strictly with
Right.
you,
Mhm.
not
Getting a
fumbling all over the
personalized
place.
plan. Mhm.
Yeah. And even just the mindset,
Mhm.
right? The mindset of, oh, I should be doing this differently. I should be
Mhm.
doing that differently. Oh,
Mhm.
and the beating up and the guilt and the
Oh
shame.
yeah. Mhm.
That's so much
Mhm.
time
Mhm.
wasted, right? They
Mhm.
got on with a health
Mhm.
professional who's teaching them the ways of health. Now, all of a sudden, all of
Mhm.
that is lifted off of
Mhm.
their head
Mhm.
because they're with somebody that they
Mhm.
know is leading them
Mhm.
on a weekly
Mhm.
basis. That is worth something.
Right. Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. Right. My first agency job was back in Colorado, and the guy was kind of a putz, not always ethical. And the agency has gone away. But one of the things that he told me, and obviously I still remember it and I still value it, is charge what the market will bear.
Yep.
And he carried that even further to say, okay, if you're working with a nonprofit, you can't charge them as much, probably, because they're a nonprofit. If you are working with a high income type of person, so doctor, lawyer, somebody who they themselves charge a lot, he said, if you don't charge enough for them to see the value,
Yeah.
then they're not going to, they might not do it at all, and so maybe you're dealing with an attorney who charges 500 an hour, and you tell them, oh, I'm going to just $25 an hour. They might still work with you, but they're not going to see the value in it. If you tell them it's 150 an hour,
Yeah.
eh, then they're going to start paying attention. And it's funny because I do coaching for senior executives who have cancer. And my first thought was not to charge a lot, right? Because I'm new, all these various things. Now, I will admit it was a woman who told me. It was first a man, but the woman took it even higher and said, here's what you need to charge for them to value it. Are there going to be people who you're pricing it past? Sure. Then you have free resources and things like that you can have for them. But if you want them to value it, you have to charge enough so that they see the value in it.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. It's good. I
You know,
agree.
and oh yeah, and when she pulled the number out of the air that I should be charging, it was like right. And then bad me, my next thought was, well, can I give them a discount?
Mm.
Right, oh yeah, you pay all at once, you get this discount, and it has taken a while to get, and so okay, I want to do a discount, then you raise the price higher, right? You bring it back to that level
Yeah.
with the discount.
Yeah.
But and we shouldn't feel guilty. I mean, I raised my rates for my clients, my monthly rate for doing social media. I raised my rates. Hadn't I mean, for 7 years they had the same rate. I should have been raising my rates every year, bad. um but I felt guilty about raising my rates. They didn't blink, which of course then my next thought was I should have raised them more. Right. And like with salary negotiations, what do you want, for your annual salary? Oh, 100,000. Sure. And then you're like, well, crap, I should have asked for 150,000. And so that's kind of, what is their pain point?
Yeah. Yeah, it's good. I agree. Yeah, and as far as the raising of the rate for negotiation, I mean that's one of the tactics
Mm-hmm,
that I use,
mm-hmm,
is leaving
mm-hmm.
a window of
Right.
negotiation in
Mm-hmm,
there so that
mm-hmm.
you both walk away feeling really good.
Right. And yeah, so you start with a higher and then you come back down, and some will pay that higher. And that's great,
Absolutely.
right? That's a bonus.
Yeah.
But and I hate that we as women, and I know men, do it to some degree also, but we don't value ourselves as much as we should.
Yeah.
And I'm going to come back to, that's the community What is your community? If you are around powerful, strong women who charge what they are worth, you're going to start doing that too.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely.
Right. Right. Now, I always ask my guests, provide speaking points, right? What do you want to talk about? And so you talked about the NEAT, and it's an acronym, I'm assuming, because it's all caps, the NEAT selling framework. So what do you mean by that?
Yeah. The framework that I use, one of the biggest issues that women have is just they don't know how to sell.
Mhm.
So they're
Or we're like in the thing when I said door to door selling, I went, ew, right? Sales, ew, ew.
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. So they don't really understand the concept behind it. So they're kind of just flailing things around.
Mhm.
There's kind of
Mhm.
like, I don't know, this is how much this is. There's no real
Mhm.
script. There's no
Mhm.
real plan of action as far as
Mhm.
how to get this person from
Mhm.
finding out
Mhm.
about you, realizing who you are, and then
Mhm.
actually handing over money to
Mhm.
you. There's a process
Mhm.
in that.
Mhm.
And so one of the frameworks that I've been using for years is called the NEAT
Mhm.
framework. N stands for needs, right? So
Mhm.
finding out what does that person need, right? We
Okay.
were talking
Mhm.
about the pain points.
Mhm.
So you have a product or service that can
Mhm.
help them or provide a
Mhm.
solution
Mhm.
for their issue. What are the
Mhm.
issues,
Mhm.
right? So in the beginning of the conversation, figuring out what those issues are,
Mhm.
what are the needs? You can be
Mhm.
taking down some notes, figuring
Mhm.
out what exactly
Mhm.
that is, and then doing the equation to what is the economic impact? So
Mhm.
that's the E.
Mhm.
And the economic impact, which we already covered
Mhm.
here, is the money and the time.
Mhm.
So, how are you saving this person money and
Mhm.
how are you saving this person time
Mhm.
for the duration of their
Right.
life
Mhm.
because of the solution that you
Mhm.
have to their
Mhm.
need, right?
Mhm.
The A is authority. So who needs to be involved
Mhm.
in the conversation,
Mhm.
right? So I always say if you're offering a product or a service that's over
Mhm.
$1,000,
Mhm.
you need to ask this question. Now, I run several different products. So I
Mhm.
run a master or a community called
Mhm.
H Club. It's masterminds, networking, business workshops. It's
Mhm.
$79 a month.
Mhm.
You don't need an authority
Mhm.
to decide whether or not you want to
Mhm.
pay $79 a
Right.
month. It's not a lot, it's
Mhm.
$700 a year.
Mhm.
So but if you are, right, have a product or service
Mhm.
that you're pitching that's over $1,000,
Mhm.
sometimes that person needs to discuss that with somebody,
Mhm.
their
Mhm.
mom, their
Ah,
husband,
okay.
their
Okay.
wife,
Mhm.
their.
Mhm.
So are you the only person
Mhm.
that I need to be talking
Mhm.
to
Right.
that can
Who is
actually
that
make this
decision
decision?
maker?
Who's the decision maker?
Mhm.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Who's the authority?
Mhm.
So you never want to make it sound like, oh, I don't want to talk to you. Who's the
Mhm.
decision maker? What you want to say is, who besides you
Yes. Mhm.
is
Mhm.
going to be making this
Mhm.
decision, this buying
Mhm.
decision? So that allows them to say, because sometimes I've done this before,
Mhm.
even where I don't ask that question.
Mhm.
I'm pitching something like a
Mhm. Mhm.
$13,000
Mhm.
sale. And I give them all the details. I go
Mhm.
through the whole rigmarole.
Mhm.
Ah, la, 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 la. It
Mhm.
takes 10 to 15 minutes of my time.
Mhm.
I freaking kill it. And they're
Mhm.
taking notes and they're like, this is all great. I love this. Let
Mhm.
me ask my husband.
Mhm. Right. Which sometimes is the out,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And you're right with that. So you want to be able to
Mhm.
nip that in the
Mhm.
bud before it even
Mhm.
becomes an excuse by
Mhm.
asking that
Right.
question.
Mhm.
So because you know very well and exactly what I'm going to say
Mhm.
happened just
Mhm.
recently within
Mhm.
the last month.
Mhm.
Pitched a
Mhm.
$13,000 deal, said all the things, killed
Mhm.
the close. It was
Mhm.
amazing. I did the whole neat framework that we're going
Mhm.
over right now.
Mhm.
And then she was like, let me ask my husband. She goes back, comes
Mhm.
back a week later. He said no. Now what? Right? Who
Yeah.
knows how she described it?
Mhm.
Who knows how she broke
Right.
it down,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
She doesn't necessarily understand all the bullet points, all the things. I'm
Mhm.
sure there's lots of things where he was like, well,
Mhm.
what is that? And she's like, oh, I don't
Mhm.
really remember.
Mhm. Right. Right.
Right? So
So
you're
do
doing
you
yourself.
ask for the meeting with him?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Where you talk numbers,
Mhm.
you always want to make sure that both individuals that
Mhm.
are making the decision
Mhm.
on this purchase are in the room when you
Mhm.
start talking
Mhm.
numbers.
Right.
You want to do it over text, you don't want to do it over email, and you don't
Mhm.
want to do it with a person that can't
Mhm.
even make the decision.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then the last one is the T,
Mhm.
right? So what is the timeline?
Mhm. Mhm.
You know, what are the next
Mhm.
steps? People want to know
Mhm.
how quickly is this happening?
Right. Yeah.
When you're talking to somebody who's doing plastic surgery to get rid of all of your cellulite or your
Yeah.
muffin top.
Is it 6 months? Is it
Exactly. What is the time
right?
frame, right? And your time frame deciphers how much money you can charge, right? So somebody at the gym, a trainer at the gym might charge $100 an hour, right? It's going to take a long time to get those results, 6 months or 6 to 8 months sometimes to get really solid results, versus a plastic surgeon might be charging you $1,000 an hour, but you're going to go in fat and you're going to come out
Right.
skinny, right? So the timeline has a lot to do with the money of which you are charging. So people need to know that, hey, I can get this done for you at this amount, and it's going to take this long.
Right.
And a lot of times that's how people make their decisions. They're like, damn, I'm going to be golden within 4 weeks. I'm going to be 100 pounds lighter in I will do that. Because it's going to take me a year to lose 100 pounds at the gym, and that's going to be hard. Right. I have to like sweat and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. But other people that is enticing, right? So depending if you're a trainer, you have to know your timeline. It's only going to take 6 to 8 months. If you're a plastic surgeon, it's only going to take 2 days, right? You have to know your timeline and be able to present that to the customer so that they can then make a decision. And yeah, that's the neat framework. So if you can cover all four of those things within the close, the probability of that individual handing you over some money is very high.
Right. So when you get the pushback, and I love when people say no often means not now.
Yeah.
Some things like that. So when you get that now, okay, so we're going to assume you've talked to the right people. It wasn't, oh, I got to go ask somebody else. So you got that part down. What do you advise when somebody gets the sounds good, but?
Yeah. Sounds good, but what?
Yeah. Is
I always say full transparency.
Okay.
So I teach my community, listen, we're not all the way, oh, authority. Oh, I don't want to be sneaky. I don't want to be slimy. I don't want to be greedy. I don't want to be, then don't be. Don't be cringe if you don't want to be cringe.
Right.
Be fully transparent. So when people are like, I have to think about it, I'm not sure. Okay. Well, let's think about it right now.
Right. What is stopping you?
What is the issue right now? So the first thing you want to ask is, does the person like you? I ask that all the time. I like you? Okay. I know I can get you transformation. Do you like me?
Right. And trust,
they always
right? It's the
say yes.
like trust thing.
Yeah. They always say yes. Yes. Yes, Sabrina, I totally like you. Okay. Do you think I can get you the results that I am offering you? They have to give you an answer. Oh, I don't know. Most of the time they say yes. Yes, I actually do believe that you can get me the results that you need. Okay. Well, the third one is them.
Right. What is stopping you?
Yeah. Like, do you believe that you can do the things, right? If you're working with a trainer at the gym, can you show up every freaking Monday, Wednesday, Thursday and stick to, I don't know. So let's have a conversation about you then. How long have you been living this way? What has this stopped you from doing? What are some things that you've changed? What are you going to do if you're still in the same position in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years?
Yeah.
Yeah. You have to start to have a conversation about it.
Right. And it is about being honest. Like you said, both ways though. I had a LinkedIn connection, right, who did the hard sell. And it was a hard sell about a fitness club. Now, I'm a lazy slug. I freely admit I'm a lazy slug. But I went back and forth a couple of times with him because he was very nice and very polite. And he finally did the what is stopping you? And I said, I have no desire to do it. I just have zero desire.
Yeah.
You're not changing that. And so he very politely said, okay, well, I'm here if that ever changes. Right. He was not going to make me want to go work out every day or every week or whatever it was. And there was nothing making me do it. It wasn't like I had a doctor who said, if you don't start walking 4 miles a day, you're going to have trouble, whatever, there was nothing at that point, and still is. I'm still a lazy slug. Right. Um, and so I think that's the thing that people get caught up on too, is it's okay to say, okay, we're done, and leave it nice and polite. How many times have we had the people who have been rude, right? Well, what do you mean you don't want my service? How can you? Well, I'm never going to work with that person, right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. You want to be working with people who want to be doing the thing, getting the results, or else you're pulling teeth.
Right.
So, and that's the other thing that people don't realize. Like, we're not strong arming people here.
Right.
If they don't want to do it, then they don't have to do it. But then this is where you get your power back, and you need to make sure that you're talking to enough people.
Right.
I talk about pipeline all the time. Like, if you're putting all your eggs in one basket for this one person to pay you, because you're not showing up at networking events, you're not going to virtual networking, you're not talking to enough people, and then you've pitched one person and you're waiting 2 weeks for this person to close, and you're following up and you're tippy-toeing and you're walking. They feel all of the desperation.
Right. And then they know that it's a negotiation point.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you want to have so many people in your pipeline that you don't even know who's doing what. Who's doing what?
Right.
You want this stuff to really just start falling into your lap. I always say that, like, I don't really even have to sell anymore, because I've done such a great job of networking myself on social. So I'm constantly massaging everybody, constantly giving referrals, getting referrals. So since they're already coming in as referral, I'm already 50% to the close, right? Because somebody else was like, oh my gosh, Sabrina's so amazing. Why are they saying Sabrina's so amazing? Because I'm showing up at 100% for them in another area, right? So I'm already at 50% close. My social media does the rest of the closing. So by the time they get on a Zoom call with me, they're talking to me, they're already ready.
Right.
I don't have to go to a long explanation and strong arm anybody. It's just like, listen, do you want this or do you not want this? And to me, it doesn't matter, because I have 20 other phone calls that week. And a few of them are going to close.
Right.
And I'm not worried about that, and the rest who don't, that's fine. That's where the follow-up comes into play.
Right. So what just flashed into my brain is door-to-door sales is a lot of cold calls.
Yeah. Yep.
And you have, in essence, eliminated that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the funny thing with door-to-door, the way that I used to run door-to-door. So there was no follow-up in the way that I ran door-to-door. We actually had a saying in the industry that said, go backs are not greenbacks. Right. So you'd be going door to door, you'll hit.
You sell them or you don't.
Hundreds of doors. Yeah. And there's a certain percentage that'll be like, I can't do it right now. I'm cooking dinner, babysitting, whatever. Come back.
Right.
So you do the whole neighborhood and you're so excited. You're writing down addresses. You go back. Guess what?
They're still busy.
Yeah. They're not home. They're not answering the door.
They peered through and went, oh no, she's back.
Yep. All the lights are off. So we used to have this saying that go backs aren't greenbacks. You have to sell right there on the spot. You either get it or you don't. Do not waste your time going all the way back up that street and wasting all these other houses down here just to go back, because it doesn't work.
Right.
Now the online world is different. Because you're not going up and trying to close them right away. What we're doing is we're massaging, right? We're saying, hey, how are you? We're staying top of mind. We're giving referrals. We're giving podcast referrals. We're doing connections. We're saying hello. We're commenting. We're in their social. We're sending them an email. There's so much more massaging that's available that's not so intrusive as like at your doorstep.
Right.
That you can do to really warm these individuals up. That gives you an advantage over the way that I was running the crew,
Right. Yeah. It's those continual little soft touch points.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I have clients who say, I only want to do, and I fall into this on occasion because we get busy, right? I'm only going to do a blog post once a month. I'm only going to post on social once a week. Okay. But you're relying on them seeing it right then. Right. Yeah. And so I tell my clients, you got to post every day. Yeah. Even if it's just something small, you need to post every day, because the way the algorithms and people's time works is they're not sitting there just staring at their computer, waiting, right, for your message to pop up. They're busy, or it doesn't appear, or all those things. And so you have to just keep saying, hello, I'm here, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's all it is. Absolutely. You have to keep them top of mind. That's all it is. I always say we are so, as a society, you're not competing with anybody else. You're competing, or you're not competing with the same people that are doing what you do. I'm sorry. You're not competing with your niche. You're competing with everything because there's so much noise. They say cat videos are like the most watched videos on the freaking planet.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're not fighting with the gym down the road. You're fighting with cat videos. You're fighting with politics. You're fighting with Donald Trump. You're fighting with beauty gurus, funny videos, movies, traffic. There's so many, there's so much noise.
Right.
So how do you rise above the noise? It's consistently showing up in front of a person's face saying, hey, 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 so that when they're ready, right? When they're ready, then all of a sudden, it's the same with going door to door, right? When I was a Jehovah's Witness, we had territory. Each kingdom had their own territory. And we were always very kind, very loving, very not aggressive, because we always said that when the time is right, it's not right now for them, but at some point it might be. And you just go around the same territory for years, the whole years of the congregation being there. And people will start to, depending on what's going on in their life, will all of a sudden need the product or the service, which in that case is religion. It's the same thing with our product or service. They might not need something regarding hair loss right now, but they might need something regarding hair loss in 2 years from now after they have a baby.
Right.
Or when they hit
their friend might say, oh my God, I've got this problem.
Or a friend. Exactly. So if we're getting bored preemptively of our own product or service, and we're like, oh, I feel like I'm pushing my hair product to then you're falling out of the line of sight of the individuals that are coming up.
Right.
So you have to, this is what we opened up with, like, you have to be committed to your product or service to death. To death.
Right.
If you're not committed, they're not committed. So I was like, oh, no one likes it. You don't like it. You don't like it. That's why they don't like it. They
so how can you change that?
You have to be all in.
Right.
You have to eat, sleep, and drink and talk about your product or service all the time.
Right.
You're married to it. I always say your business is your baby. Right? How many people are mothers and they're just walking around and just never ever mention, especially when you have a baby, never mention to somebody like, oh, I have a baby. You tell everybody in the whole world.
And you show total strangers pictures.
Your pictures. Exactly.
I did that today with my puppy pictures. Total strangers. Hey, you want to see a picture of my puppy?
Exactly. Exactly. And so we have to be the same way with our business. Everybody has to know about our business just the way everybody knows about your baby. It's the same exact thing. And you have to care for it. And it's 24/7 and it's all the time. And it's annoying and you don't want to, but it's a baby. So you have to. You can't just leave the baby for 2 days and just be like, I'm not doing the baby thing today. You can't do that.
Right.
If you're fully committed to having a healthy baby, right? If you don't really care about your business, you can do it. Anyone can do it.
You can put in the time every once in a while. Well, you will see the results of that.
Yes. But Deb and I here are talking about people who really want a successful business. If you really want a successful business, then you have to treat your business like a baby. You have to show up for it every single day with kindness and loveness. You talk about it all day, every day, and show pictures to people all day, every day of it. And then all of a sudden, you'll start reaping the benefits of you talking and speaking about it.
Right. Yeah, because there is nothing that is unique in this world. There's no product, no service that is totally unique, right? And so anybody can go anywhere, but it's that staying top of mind. It's sending out the e-newsletters every 2 weeks. It's the daily posts on social, whatever it is. And now, folks, we're not saying that they all say, buy for me, buy for me, buy for me, buy, right? Because that gets really old really fast. Now you can say, hey, we're running a special this month, whatever you're doing. But, maybe it's how, and what I like to say is, how can you be helpful? I provide inspirational tips and all these various things. And so it's, you want to work with me, I hope, but you're also going to learn something from me or be inspired or giggle or do whatever. But, how can you just kind of gently keep being there on a consistent basis?
Yeah. How can I?
But yeah, I mean, we've been talking about that, but yeah, think of it yourself. How can I be there on a consistent basis? And what am I going to provide? And then plan for it. I mean, I have in my calendar every month, and I block out an hour of time to do my scheduling of my social media posts for the whole next month. Because if I don't, pretty soon it's the 15th of the month and I haven't posted it all. And you're
exactly.
like, great. And then of course, what happens is people are like, does she still exist? What's happened?
Yeah.
Or they've gone on, right? They found whatever it was elsewhere.
Yeah. I always say that you have to brag about yourself until other people are bragging about you.
Right.
So no one's bragging about you. That's part of your job. That's still part of your job. And if you don't want to be bragging about yourself, then you have to go hard and build relationships.
Why are you doing it?
So that they will brag for you.
Right.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, oh my gosh, Sabrina, we are at the top of the hour and this has been absolutely fabulous. Would love to have you on, anytime you want to come back. But until then, for people who are going, okay, I need help. How do they find you and what are the services that you provide?
Yeah, so my main website is my name. I made it very easy for everybody, sabrinavictoria.com. That has a variety of things. So I run an entire media agency. I have a community for women called H Club, do masterminds networking. I do one-on-one coaching for business women. My social media, my favorite place to hang out would be Facebook. I'm a very nice person, so follow me.
We've been Facebook friends for well over a year.
Yes, drop me a DM, say hello, ask questions. I have a free Facebook group. We have over 3,200 members in the Facebook group, all women business owners helping each other rise to the top. Would love to have you involved in that, join that. And yeah, just, get in, get in and get with us.
I love it. And I think the biggest thing to remember is you do not have to do this alone. Yeah. We talked about surrounding yourself with the right people. These are the right people.
Absolutely.
I love it. I love it. Well, yeah, we will have you on again and I look forward to that. But until then, do you have any final thoughts that you want to leave everyone with?
Yeah. My main mantra that I've been carrying with me pretty much my whole life, probably since my mid-20s, is very, very simple. Whenever I'm in a tough spot, especially during entrepreneurship, every other day there's chaos, right? Is everything's going to be okay. So it doesn't matter what's going on. Could be with your spouse, could be money, could be your car, could be taking a deep breath and just reminding yourself that everything is going to be okay. Also reminding yourself of how much you've been through. And you too can do this too,
I love it. Such wise words. And it sounds easy, but folks, it's not. So that's okay. But don't beat yourself up over it, right? Because it will be okay. Well, I'm Deb Creer. I've been having so much fun chatting with Sabrina Victoria. And until next time, everyone have a great day.
Tune in for our next program for even more trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. The Business Power Hour, hosted by Deb Creer, is proud to be part of the C-Suite Network.